to introduce my friend Jannette Lumley. We've become friends, and we met at Breakfast with Fran. She came in, and I think that's how we met. Or did we
No,
meet
we met at Allison.
At Allison's networking, right. Went to another networking,
yeah.
Red. Right.
Right.
Yes, Red. And we'll invite you to that one as well. And men and women are invited. And we hit it off. And she's a paralegal. And the lawyers, we know lawyers do a good job. However, paralegals are filling a gap between the legal profession and us. And a good way is to meet us. Thank you, Jannette.
Good afternoon, or what time is it? Morning, everyone. My name is Jannette Lumley, and I'm a paralegal and also an accident benefit representative. As a paralegal in Ontario, we're allowed to perform certain duties in regards to legal representation. As a paralegal, now you can represent in court as long as the monetary jurisdiction is not over $25,000. That's how much we're allowed to take on a case for. We're allowed to practice in areas such as small claims court, landlord and tenant, WSIB, accident benefit claims, and we can do some summary convictions as long as it's under six months, not over, because that comes with a criminal element as well. And as a paralegal, you cannot do anything criminal. It has to go to a lawyer. Now, I'm here today to talk about benefit claims and personal injury. In Ontario, before 2010, you were allowed to make certain claims in regards to an accident. The medical rehabilitation side of it would allow you to claim up to $100,000 in different areas, $72,000 depending on which areas you're looking at. Now, since September 2010, FISCO, which is the Financial Securities of Ontario, they've mandated it that certain benefits are kept at $3,500 for medical rehabilitation. And they measure that with a guideline called Minor Injury Guideline, which is the MIG. It's acronym, the MIG. And what that is, the guideline covers basically all areas, from everything except a fracture or a broken arm, anything like that. When you're putting in a claim for benefits, you're eligible for income replacement benefits and non-earners benefit, caregivers benefit, attendant care benefits, housekeeping benefits, and personal care. Today I want to touch mainly on the income replacement benefits, which goes for self-employed person and employed person. It's very important when you do have an accident, when you're involved in a motor vehicle accident, you have a valid insurance. That's mandatory. If you don't have insurance, you have nothing to get. Also, there's the at-fault person and the person who is not at fault. If you're not at fault, you're allowed to put in a claim. You're entitled for income. When you're not at fault, you can get medical rehab and whatever benefits comes with it. But if you're at fault, the only thing you're entitled for is medical and rehabilitation. The person who is not at fault, they're entitled for to sue the person that hit you in the motor vehicle accident. You're entitled for benefits for the income replacements. You're entitled for 75% of your weekly benefits, which is $400 maximum. However, you can purchase optional benefits to get more increase on that. For example, you could purchase $600 more, an additional $200, $800, or $1,000 weekly, based on what your weekly benefits would have been. So it's advisable when you're involved in an accident to submit a claim. No matter the seriousness of it, whether it's a minor at the time, because normally when you get into an accident you don't feel any pain right away. So you think you're fine until a week or 2 weeks down the line you started having pain. You're going to have to submit a claim, because if not, you cannot get any benefits if you do not submit a claim. And there are limitation periods to these different areas. For example, you have 7 days to notify your insurance company when you get involved in an accident. You have 30 days to file the accident benefits claim, which is on an OCF1, which is the application. You have 120 days to sue the at-fault driver. And then you have 2 years to commence a lawsuit against the at-fault driver.
When you say commit?
Commence. Start.
Oh, commence. Okay.
Insurance companies scrutinize everything. So you have to be careful. If they have any suspicion in terms of the accident, for example, you mentioned staging. Now, if they believe that an accident is staged, there are certain things that they look at. So they put you under a special situation where you would have to do an examination under oath. And what that is that they look at how the accident occurred. For example, a stoplight versus a stop sign. These are some of the stuff that they look at. They look at a major street versus a side street. They look at the number of occupants in the car as opposed to if you're related or not. So they take all these things into consideration to see if it's a legitimate accident. Okay, so when I went through that already, when you're at fault and at fault, no fault situation,
I forgot to say something. Lawyers, if you go to a lawyer, quite often they have a paralegal to talk to, because the paralegals know more about these accidents.
Yes, because
than a lawyer.
Yes, you specialize mainly in these areas, which the lawyers don't. And as a paralegal as well, they're giving us the opportunity to do all areas. So as a practice, you can work in all the areas within the scope of the paralegal rules. Mm-hmm. Lawyers, they only specialize in one specific area. But as a paralegal, we're given the opportunity to do all areas as long as we don't go outside of the scope of our practice.
As long as it's not criminal, right?
Criminal, yes. And also, as a paralegal, we cannot do real estate law, and we cannot do family. We could initiate it in terms of maybe preparing, but signing off on the documents and stuff like that, we are not allowed.
This is when and it just saves you money, right, when you work for the paralegal.
Yes.
And then have the lawyer do that extra part.
Yes, exactly. That's another thing too. It saves you a lot of money, because you could go to a lawyer and he could charge you like $3,000. As a paralegal, we probably charge a fraction of that fee.
Well, I have a question for you. By the way, we can ask questions as well.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I have a question. You mentioned about not at fault, but you must have medical. You must have insurance. What kind of insurance are you talking about?
Automobile insurance.
Auto insurance.
Yes,
okay.
You have to have auto insurance, valid auto insurance. And also, when you're in an accident, a lot of employers provide insurance through their company.
So what happens in my situation? For instance, I don't have auto insurance because I don't have a car anymore. But I'm a driver. If I'm driving and I rent the auto share, I've got the insurance through there. But suppose I'm a passenger in this not at fault.
Okay.
Where do I put?
Okay. Well, in a situation like that, say for example you're in a vehicle with a driver, but you don't have an insurance. This doesn't sound good, but this is how they do it. They go after the driver. So if you're putting in a claim,
Mhm.
they will go after the driver's claim.
Mhm.
But first of all, they want to find out if your spouse
Mhm.
do have insurance.
Mhm.
And if he does have insurance, even although he wasn't driving,
Mhm.
they go after that insurance first.
So they go after my husband's insurance.
Yes, first. Yes, to at least initiate the claim. The claim has to
Okay.
start somewhere.
Okay, so if the husband, because we're getting older and there's retirement coming in. My husband is semi-retired now. He's not on a full-time job. No insurance anymore. Well, no, he has auto insurance.
Well,
So
if
they go after his
insurance, yes, until,
Uh-huh.
especially if it's going to lead to the more serious side of the accident, where if they're going to sue the third party,
Mhm.
the person that hit you,
Mhm.
so they would use up that insurance until. That's why the 120 days
Mhm.
comes in.
Mhm.
Remember I mentioned about the 100, yeah, the
If that
120.
person has a life insurance,
No, not
That's
under
not
life.
true.
No, it's auto.
it's only
Or through your employer with benefits through your
Okay.
workplace. Yeah, that's the only way that you can look for accident benefits. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's. the
Otherwise,
only-
you have to sue.
Well, with the suing, it's not as simple. If you're involved in an accident, this is why the minor injury guideline came in effect.
Mhm.
So what they do, the insurance industry measures the injuries that you sustain. And they have this guideline. So they look at things like whiplash, contusion, abrasion. All those things are under this guideline. So it's very difficult to come out of this guideline. Very, very difficult to come out of it, to take you out of that MIG. So sometimes it can go anywhere from the date of the accident up to a year.
my husband started to feel
Okay.
the pain in his leg,
Yeah.
like maybe in 2 weeks after the accident, because the first days we were in shock. How does it happen and why? Like he's offended and guilty. Like he was waiting to simply, to make his turn and somebody crashed him. But this is what happened. Yes, he started, but of course he didn't make a claim because he thought there is no need to.
Okay, in a situation like that, you have up to 2 years, right? So you could still submit a claim. However, there has to be evidence. So if he suffered that injury at that time of the accident, has he reported it to his doctor?
That's why he didn't go. He thought it's
No,
too
because
late.
you see, those are some of the factors
Yes,
that they
I know.
look at.
You have to know about it.
Documentation.
First of all, right?
So first of all, this is where now, as Jillian mentioned with the lawyer,
Yeah.
this is where we have to work alongside a personal injury lawyer.
Mhm.
Because with the tort case now, it's up for bigger claims. And this is where they sue the at-fault driver.
Mhm.
But they take a lot of stuff into consideration. They look at economical loss. They look at your pain and suffering. They look at future income. They look at your age. The insurance company take a lot of stuff into consideration before even settling.
This is quite different how it used to be.
Yes, they change it a whole lot.
Mhm.
They change it a whole lot. And because of the staging
Mhm.
and all these fraud claims that went into
Mhm.
play,
Mhm.
they make it worse for everybody. So a lot of people are suffering.
Yeah.
Because before 2010, September, a person could just go to a rehab or a chiro
Mhm.
and say, okay, I've gotten this person to help me do this housekeeping in the house, and the insurance company would just pay out. Some of the rehab agents, they would put in claims for 20,000, 30,000 on their hands just for the rehab.
Mhm.
And also the person that's injured, they're getting benefits too for 10, 15, 20,000.
Wow.
Yeah, so the insurance company is saying, no, we're paying out too much money here, and decided to put a cap at 3,500. This is why you're finding a lot of rehabs are closing down, because they were living off those substantial amount of money before 2010. Now they're not able to survive because of the cap that fiscal
Mhm.
put into place.
Mhm.
But in your husband's case, if he's having pain or whatever, and how long has he been seeing his doctor?
He didn't come to the doctor.
No, I mean, how long is his doctor, like your family doctor, how long has he been going to his doctor? I'm not talking about for the accident, like before that.
He has been probably maybe in a year.
Okay, because if he has a good relationship with his doctor, he can revisit the situation let the doctor know he was involved in an accident at a particular time, and see if there's anything. Normally, if the pain doesn't go away, whatever, the doctor would refer you to a physiotherapist or a chiropractor, depending on your situation. Yeah.
He had a passenger anyway in his car, and
Did the passenger put in a claim?
No, but of course we have this letter that the passenger has seen all the accident, but nobody really take it in mind. So it was so strange.
Because the passenger had an accident, and the passenger could not testify.
Yes, it was another person who was staying because they just left from their workplace. The other was also like witnesses. So
Outside the car?
Outside the car.
Okay,
but still, they claimed him anyway. Guilty. It was so funny.
The only thing I would say, it's very important to make sure that you do have a valid insurance, because that's what's going to determine your benefits. And what they're doing now, the benefits is not paid out at the initial stage. So as a paralegal too, once we initiate that claim, like we call it an intake. So once we do an intake on the individual, we will determine how far this claim is going to go. And then at that time, whichever law firm or whichever lawyer we're connected to, we will refer the file.
But I think everybody has auto insurance, like if they're driving a car.
No, some people don't have insurance.
Okay.
But if you're in a car where there's no insurance, if the driver has no insurance, the fiscal, they have a fund set up. It's called MVAC. It stands for Motor Vehicle Accident Fund. They will cover you on that end.
Okay.
Right. It will be submitted on the same OCF1, but it will be indicated under that you don't have no form of it. So but there are certain things that you wouldn't be able to sue the other party, especially if that person doesn't have an insurance. You wouldn't be able. You will only be able to get the medical taken care of and your rehabilitation, meaning going to a physio. They will take care of that aspect, but you wouldn't be able to sue anybody.
And that's important because you might have loss of income.
Yeah, and that's another thing with the loss of income. I do income tax on a yearly basis as well, and what I noticed, quite a few people has been in, whether in WSIB. I had one client just recently, and this is a learning experience for everyone. He's a delivery person, and a doll plate at where he was working.
What do you mean a doll plate?
Doll plate. The door from the dock at Walmart came down and dropped on his foot and broke it. So it was broken. So when he came in, the first thing I asked him, because I said, do you have insurance? Have you contributed to WSIB? And have you been paid into your taxes? He said he hasn't been paid into his taxes. I said, for how many years? He said, for 4 years. As a result of that, WSIB did not pay him what he should be getting, because they base it on your